Tommy asked, what is your opinion on Mortal Ghoul PCs and why don't we get to have them anymore? Mortals never quite worked right in our game. They sat out a lot because the vampires are off doing politics stuff. We have a very politics heavy game. And the vampires treat mortals how they should be treated. If they're ghouls, they're servants that sit outside the room when they're doing important stuff. And if they're mortals, the vampires are frequently in places they can't go and or would have no reason to go. So mortals don't work right. They sit out a lot, and they end up sitting out and sitting out and sitting out until often the character explodes trying to get some attention and ends up getting killed or something like that. Experience has just taught us that they just have a huge failure rate, so we don't allow them except for under special circumstances to people we know very well. One thing that strikes me about mortals, people playing mortals or people playing any outsider group, be that anarchs, caitiff, ghouls, mortals, anything like that, is that players are generally unable to play outsiders. They often think they're able to, but they're not. They can't deal with it. So we see these huge failure rates with all those types of characters that are on the outside. It doesn't matter what kind of outsider it is. It could be, caitiff anarchs, mortals, anything like that. There's a certain type of drama which comes from being an outsider, and that drama comes from people not giving you your due and not giving you respect, and you having to push on through that. And few people get that kind of drama and want it because everyone wants to be liked. And very few people want to play a character which is inherently disliked or distrusted. Everyone wants to be on the end, so everyone wants to be in the cool kids club. So because of that, mortals fail, anarchs fail, all those kinds of characters fail over and over again because no one digs on the idea of being disliked. And even when you have characters who aren't caitiff or one of these outsider groups, when you see politics come about, where due to their actions or the machinations of others, a character is made into an outsider, he is made into a pariah. We often see rage quits or people just running out of the game, or we see suicide bombing characters who try to screw up everything and then leave town, like we saw with Chris, because they got screwed. They had to deal with being an out, with dealing with a situation that they didn't like, so they just leave because they want to. I don't know what they want. They want to have a perfect situation. With characters designed to be failures or designed to be outsiders, you just see they fail. They just blow up. So when we look at these outsider characters like caitiff and ghouls and all that sort of thing, they only are given to players who are not only good. That's not the only thing they have to be. They can be only be good players, although they certainly have to be. They also be the type of player who has shown some sort of capacity to get being on the outs, to understand that and enjoy that to a certain extent. You should not play an outsider unless you're used to not being number one and not being near the center. There, it takes a certain type of player to play a peripheral character, and most people aren't that person. Tommy also asked, what do you do in your spare time? Every weekend or so, me and Steph go down to the pub in Baltimore, and I watch English football with her. Glory, glory, Man United! Glory, glory, Man United! Steph's gonna hate me for doing that. Also, fuck you, Liam. I also read a lot of nonfiction books. I'm currently reading a book called The Chrysanthemum and the Sword. It's by Ruth Benedict. This is an older copy, but if you're really interested, you could get a newer one. It's still in print. It's a book about Japanese culture and history and what made them the way they were and the nature of Japanese honor and their ideas about hierarchy and the burdens of gratitude that a person is expected to hold. It's a really great book. It was written in 1946 specifically for army officers who were going to be part of the occupation of Japan as an attempt to acclimatize Westerners to the Japanese ways of thinking. It doesn't cover any modern history, but a lot of it still applies. It's a great book. This is the kind of book I typically read. Before, I was reading a book that was a history of ancient Mesopotamia, the Sumerians, the Assyrians, the Babylonians, and their influence and the nature of their civilization. Ancient Mesopotamia is kind of a little interest of mine. Japanese history is another one. Eastern history is another one. I also read science fiction books just for fun. Right now, I'm reading "The Moon is a Harsh Mistress" by Robert Heinlein. This is a book I always wanted to read, but I never quite got around to it. I like almost all of Heinlein's stuff, and I've just finally gotten a chance to take a look at this one. And on the other hand, I also play board games. I play chess. I play video games. I like a lot of the indie games that are coming out. They're really good. The little free download games that come in and they amuse you for 2 or 3 days. There's actually a really great show on on YouTube called Bytejacker, which covers the indie game scene, the free download sort of things. And it has a lot of games that I like. I think their website is www.bytejacker.com. Bytegacker. So those are the kinds of things I usually do in my spare time when I'm not on Sanguinus. Tommy asks, what do I do for a living? I'm the creative director for a web design firm in the Baltimore area. That means that I do graphic design and design templates and buttons and ads and things like that for clients, mainly in the fine arts field. And I also design Flash applications, everything from online video players to simple slideshows to even advanced ticketing applications like ones where you go in and you select your seat in a theater and it reserves tickets for you. And that's what I do with most of my time at my job. We have clients like the Washington National Opera, the New York City Opera, the San Francisco Ballet. No particular reason why we do all these fine arts things, except for we just kind of fell into it as a company. Nobody in the company is really that much of an art hound, but it's something we figured out how to do. And when you learn how to do it once, these nonprofit organizations just share information freely. So we became kind of tapped in for that. All right, that makes for another good episode. Thanks for your questions. The moment we get another set of them, I'll make another Ask Primal. Thanks a lot.